2025-26 NBA season is just about 24 hours away, which means we still got a little bit of time to draft some NBA best ball teams today here on Spike Week. What we're going to do is draft some DraftKings best ball teams. I have a whole bunch of drafts to get in before tip-off tomorrow night. We're going to hammer some of those drafts out, take some of my favorite players, my favorite structures, and all that good stuff. Let's go ahead and get to it. All right, guys, tip-off is almost here. I'm literally in some DK drafts as we speak right now. I have about 4,000 billion drafts to get in before tip-off tomorrow. I'm super excited for this season. You guys are going to see my exposures live on your screen here as we hop into some drafts here in just a second. I'm going to see if we can't hammer out 2 or 3, different drafts. Dogs are stampeding down the stairs to come join us here. Hey, good Lord. Do I think it will fill? Question is yes. The answer is absolutely yes. Undoubtedly, I think that it will fill. Welcome, first year. Congratulations on breaking the seal that is NBA Best Ball. Exactly. Hungry dog runs faster. That is for sure. But yeah, I think this is easily going to fill on DraftKings. I think, shockingly, we're going to get pretty good fill rates across the board, all 3 different sites. That isn't always the case. We don't always get, sometimes we get major overlay. Sometimes we get a sprinkle of overlay. Sometimes we get these contests totally filling. And I think this year we're going to get a much higher fill rate just across the board. I expect DraftKings. We'll see what happens with the $444 on DraftKings. I know they put out some promos to try to get some people to hop in there. The promos are pretty terrible, if I'm being honest, but nonetheless, pretty good fill rates. Let's go ahead and get on into some drafts and see if we can't draft the winner. So there's only about 4,000 spots left in the $20 here on DraftKings. I mean, that I'm not even sure how long it's going to make it. The drafts are firing today. I'm about 70 in. I don't know. So you guys will laugh. My goal still is sitting at 70 as we speak right now. Still is 150. Am I going to be able to achieve that? That seems rather unlikely at this moment in time. That will probably require some auto drafting tomorrow, but it's still the goal. I'm going to be drafting around the clock until tip off tomorrow. Yeah, it's a long night, early morning. Not going to be a lot of sleep, but that's okay. That's okay. Yeah, as you see here, I'm literally currently, I, like an idiot, entered a couple drafts far too close to the start of this here little show. And so I'm still polishing up a couple of teams. But yeah, about 70 in. I mean, I'll definitely be able to get over 100. That won't be a problem at all. How close can we get to 150? I don't know. We'll find out. I'm excited to see how many we can reach in 24 hours. It'll close just before tip tomorrow. 125 is probably a more realistic goal than 150. That's funny. In the other draft, shout out to Denver, Ed, AO, Kick Dick. Is that what Kid Kick? I read that as Kick Dick. I'm not gonna lie to you. See, I didn't want to say it out loud, but that's what I read it as at first. But yes, if you are just hopping into some drafts, some recent things, there's been a lot of news, as is the case in any preseason in any sport, right? We're monitoring preseason news and preseason injuries, specifically a couple of the most notable things, I think, from today and the last couple of days in the NBA streets. First of all, at least tomorrow, for the Houston Rockets. They're going to start with the double big lineup, the double center lineup specifically. Not even like double big. That is a double monster lineup that Houston is going to be starting tomorrow. Obviously, Fred VanVleet is out for the season, so we were, is it going to be Reed Shepherd? Is what I will say about Houston is they're going to start Steven Adams tomorrow against Oklahoma City. So Amen Thompson, Kevin Durant, Jabari Smith, Steven Adams, and Alperen Şengün is a heck of a starting lineup. That's a lot. That's some big boys. Kevin Durant essentially at the 2 is a interesting lineup. I like it, but I don't think that should be the expectation for like forever, right? I do suspect that it'll be a little bit of a night by night thing. I do think what's interesting about the Adams stuff is I think it makes a ton of sense for Houston to lean into with kind of the lack of at least a veteran point guard, right? I think Reed Shepherd can grow into a bigger role for them, but I think it makes sense to just really lean into their physicality and their rebounding and their defense, right? They're not going to be able to make up for their lack of shooting ultimately with Amen, with Şengün, right? With Tari Eason coming in off the bench, with just kind of how the roster is constructed, lean into their strengths. And in the regular season, I think it's going to work quite well. But I do think on a night-to-night basis, Steven Adams is not going to play that many games. He's definitely not going to play back-to-backs. And there also is going to be times where they don't, start the double big. They'll still play the double big plenty. They do have Clint Capella, right, to use when Adams is sitting out or whatever. But I would be shocked if we don't get plenty of opportunity for all of these different guys on the Rockets. And so not a huge deal, honestly, with the starting lineup for opening night, but something to monitor nonetheless. I think the Kobe White news is interesting, though not a huge deal. I suspect that Kobe will be back in, let's call it a month. He's going to be reevaluated in a couple weeks. I think that what we are seeing, right? So think about all the calf injuries, the calf epidemic, if you will, in the NBA, really in all sports, but so many calf injuries, and the Bulls are just being very smart about that. I'm not overly concerned with Kobe White. I think Kobe White's a really good pick. I think he's going to probably continue to be a really good pick, but understand that you're probably not going to have him for the first while, right? He's being reevaluated in a couple weeks. He's back at practice. So I think that they're just being smart about fairly slow recovery for Kobe White, but I am making Ayo Dosunmu more of a priority. I am continuing to draft Josh Giddey and Matas Buzelis. I just think those guys are going to come out of the gates really, really hot, and the Bulls are going to keep fighting for the play-in, baby. It's the play-in Bulls. That is what they're going to do. Outside of that, we have this Ja Morant is going to play on Wednesday. So if you were worried about Ja missing opening day, he's going to be fine for opening day. What's up with Memphis? That remains to be seen. Scottie Pippen is out for quite a while, and that was someone that we were somewhat interested in. But also, Ty Jerome injured his calf in their last preseason game, and as Memphis tends to do, they give us no major update on what's going on with Ty Jerome. It would be sweet if they would just say what the heck is wrong with him. I don't understand what they're hiding. This isn't some strategic advantage by hiding what's wrong with Ty Jerome. I don't think anyone thinks he's going to play on Wednesday, but nothing, they haven't given us an update on Ty Jerome. I think without Scottie Pippen, Ty Jerome has the potential to be like legitimately one of, if not the best pick on the board right now. But if he's not going to play for a while himself, that doesn't bode very well for him either. So he was a guy who I was heavily targeting. Let me see how much I have right now. Right, so I have 25% Ty Jerome. That would be higher if I hadn't been mostly backing off at the moment. If you're open to that level of risk of a guy with a calf injury right now, then by all means, I think he's a really good pick. I'm taking it a little bit easy on him, and just overall a little bit worried about the Memphis situation. Like, this has disaster written all over it. John Morant, not exactly a picture of health himself. I don't take Bam very much. That's interesting. Who's the top player by ADP? Okay, I have. So second number you see here is my exposure with my first round pick. So 40% of my Wemby teams have Harden. So I don't want to do that. I don't have any Donnie on those teams. And something I'm really trying to lean into. I'm leaning a lot into some like extreme-ish builds, but I particularly prefer really guard heavy, and especially on DraftKings, if you haven't played on DraftKings before, center is much more limited than like underdog and drafters. There's plenty of center options really through all throughout the draft. Obviously, the Jokic's of the world specifically stand out because Nikola Jokic is the best player on the planet. He's the best fantasy asset on the planet. But on DraftKings, a lot of guys like Wemby is a forward and not a center, right? Karl Anthony Towns is a forward and not a center. There's a lot of guys that are forwards that we don't get to use at center. So center is much more thin. So I'd like some cheaper centers, which we'll, I'm sure, get to. And you guys probably already know. When we did the show last week, it was focused on the underdog tournament specifically, but it was really relevant to all of NBA Best Ball. Talked about some of those centers that we like cheaper down the board. Mitchell Robinson, Neemias Queta, right? Those guys. But on DraftKings, those guys are better picks. And of course, they are pricier. Those guys are better picks. But also locking down, particularly a couple of earlier guys that we've gotten up to 34% Derek White. We're going to keep building out this Derek White stance. Wemby, Donovan Mitchell, and Derek White. But building out, making sure we're pretty locked in at what's going on at center early and guards. It's not that I don't like. I'm literally finishing up a different team where I punted guard, like a zero guard strategy, but it's not really my preference. I much prefer kind of the stud guards because there's just a smattering on DraftKings, especially. There's just all throughout the draft a bunch of forwards that I think it's deeper, right? Because of the fact that a lot of those centers are forwards on DraftKings, that makes the forward position deeper. It becomes ultimately like the deepest position. And that's not the case necessarily on other sites. And so on DraftKings, building out a really strong early stable of guards, making sure I'm solid enough at the center position. And then, of course, like I took Wemby on this team, so I don't have a center yet, right? But on a lot of teams, that's kind of my ideal strategy. It becomes tricky when you get into the late 40s and 50s and you don't have center and guard. You can kind of always make up a guard or forward, but the center position is just something you always have to kind of plan around on DraftKings. That's funny. What is your draft count by website? About 75 on Underdog, about 70 on DraftKings, and I'm going to be primarily focused. I'm going to do some more Underdog too tomorrow, probably. Actually, don't know how full is it? No, what the? How full is the double dribble on? Oh, it's pretty 95% already. So I lied. Maybe I won't get to. Oh no, I lied. I'm at 65 on Underdog. I'll probably try to get some more in, even if I have to auto those over the course of the next tonight. And then I'm just going to be piling in. Like I said, even if I have to auto, that's fine. Set positional limits. One thing I do hate about autoing is the whole the playoff schedule is a big part of my entire draft strategy. And layering in, yes, we're going to hop into another here. We'll be multi-tabling, maybe even get into a third one. Layering in all of those playoff weeks at each position. And again, specifically, like I think at center is the easiest / best place to do it, and making sure at each step of the playoffs, right? Quarterfinal, semifinal, finals. In the regular season, it's going to kind of all work itself out. In the playoffs, making sure I have, like from from a DraftKings perspective, we look here, right? If you look on the Draft Hacker, you can see how many, right? So Jalen Duren has 8 games in the quarters, 7 games in the semifinals, and 8 games in the finals. I understand they're individual weeks, but this accomplishes the goal of what we want to see here, right? Whereas let's look at center, right? What I actually love, I've been using a lot more Alex Sarr. Oh, I'm sorry, Ed. I apologize. I'll probably get to like 50 on drafters. I think I'm at 35 on drafters so far. So I'm doing drafters for sure. But you right, so like use it. This is a perfect example of like some layering. This also works with Şengün because Şengün with the Rockets has the same playoff 8-7-8 like Jalen Duren does. So then coming back and being like, well, I'm gonna take Alex Sarr to go with Jalen Duren because then I have 8 Duren games in the quarters, right? 8 Sarr games in the semis, and then back to 8 Duren in the and like balancing that stuff, right? Let's say you don't get Duren, you take Sarr. Like, okay, well, Pirtle goes pretty good there because he has 8 games in the finals. And then, oh, look, I could take, you don't actually have to specifically take these guys, but Miles Turner, right, has 8 games here. And just like layering that stuff in, right? DeAndre Ayton has 8 in the quarters. And, it doesn't have to be perfect. You're going to have plenty of teams that aren't perfect in that regard, but you can do a really good job of layering that stuff in when you're actually doing the drafting. But when you're auto drafting, obviously that's not going to be the case. So why I do always still prefer, I think you can auto NFL much easier than you can auto NBA, and which sounds funny because the correlation aspect is more important, but the playoff like volume of games in the NBA is so much more important. Let's see. Mitchell, Derek White, and Wemby. Let's take two. I got to get this Austin Reeves up. 2% Reeves. Let's see. What do we got over here? We're in the 8 spot. Okay. That works. How does the number of flex spots affect your team structure? Each site has a different number of flex positions. It doesn't impact it too much for me. If anything, the amount of so like underdog, really not worrying all that much about early season production as we get deeper into the draft. Let's do Sarr actually. Not worrying about that early season production as you get deeper into the draft on, say, underdog, because you only start one. Like the starting lineup is 10 of your 16 players are not going to hit your lineup in it every week on underdog. It's like, so there's just no reason to draft let's say, this is going to be mean, DeMar DeRozan, who I don't hate on some other sites, a Cam Johnson, like kind of like these guys are fine producers. They're going to play. They're going to put up fine points. But at what point are you ever going to look back and say, yep, didn't draft Cam Johnson and he scored 55 points a game over an entire week, right? He played 4 games and he scored 55 points. No, like if you can have decent weeks, but you're never, right, dare I say, spike weeks. The more flex spots you have, the more viable the kind of accumulators that don't have like league winning upside become, right? The DeRozans, the Levines, the whoever's, those guys. Yeah, DeRozan was big last year, but this ain't right. This isn't last year. It's a new Kings team. This is a pretty disastrous situation, right? This Kings team now has Dennis Schroeder, Malik Monk is back. Zach LaVine is on the Kings, right? They added Russell Westbrook. They have multiple rookies now. They have a pretty darn clear path. Man, all these people getting smart on Şengün, huh? Let's pull up Paulo. It's just not right. Like it's just not the same as last year for DeRozan. And like he's fine. It's probably an extreme example, but like DeRozan seems like kind of totally fine on drafters, right? Or again, the more flex spots you have, but like at a cost of I have a non-zero amount of DeRozan on DraftKings, like to this exact point. Yeah, so like 6%, right? Every once in a while, that guy fits. You have some low weeks in those playoff weeks, but like at what point? Let's look at DeMar DeRozan. Right, so this is exactly what you're getting. Okay, congrats. You got a couple of good games there, right? Against Washington and Indy. And I haven't looked at who he plays in the fantasy playoffs. But this is what you're going to get, right? Okay, 32, 40, 45, 31, 32, 38, 30, 41, 32, 35, 36. That's fine. That's okay, right? But that's like not winning you anything. The only perk of DeMar DeRozan is that he plays every game. And you play every game. You only play every game until you don't anymore, right? That's how it works, right? LeBron James, right, was infallible, and now it's like, oh, look, he's gotten older, and yep, now he's banged up. I just don't want to draft too many of those guys. It's not that they don't have their place. I don't want to draft too. Again, with the flex spots, it's like, what do I need that guy for when I have 16 spots and I only start 6 guys? Like anybody that plays 4 games in a week is going to be viable to hit my lineup. Then I need the big spikes, which means I need to find Denny of last year. I need to find Josh Giddey. I need to find, right? I want the breakout, absolutely smashing their price and posting big weeks. And again, the more spots that have to hit your starting lineup, the more those guys can be viable. The DeRozans, right? Just those kind of guys, the kind of accumulators without the mega upside. Yeah, and Miles Bridges has probably almost certainly even more upside, right? Miles Bridges' problem has been games played, not points per game, not points per minute. Whereas DeRozan is just playing every game. That's why he feels better. Ooh, 60% of my Paulo is with Giddey. That doesn't seem very good. Yeah, exactly. You need to make the final and have a bunch of games played, right? Obviously, you need the producers. You need guys who are producing, right? So like Amin Thompson, right? Again, the Josh Giddey, Denny Avdia. I'm trying to think of the other kind of breakout stars, if you will, of last year, right? Guys who just are producing at a far greater level than they were necessarily drafted at. Jalen Johnson's, I know he didn't play for most of the year, but you get the point, right? You need the guys who are producing, but then ultimately, right, they can only do so much if they play 6 games in a week, in a round of the fantasy playoffs. Like there's just only so much a guy can do. Let's see here. Holy shit. 80% of the Wemby teams have quickly. That doesn't seem very good. Oh, I don't have, let's see, Laurie. I don't have him with Wemby yet. Okay. This is another thing that's hard speaking of, I was just going to speak about this. Another thing that's hard to do if you end up like autoing drafts is you're not going to not necessarily hedge, right? The question is, do you hedge site to site your combos and fades? I do not. No, there are certain guys who are just price better on others, right? Price better or worse, or a fit the scoring or fit right. There's like on DraftKings, there's going to be some center positions that I'll like stances that I would take that I just don't feel the need to take right on underdog because there's just so many other guys. And, for example, like I have a fair amount of J Huff on DraftKings. I have a very big bag of Mitchell Robinson and Nemius Queta. They're fine on underdog. They're not like mega smashes. The mega smash here, of course, is Asar Thompson. Who I'm going to have about 60% of or so, probably. But from site to I'm not the guy who in terms of askings ever in any sport, in any form of sports speculation or gambling or anything, hedging is just not my bag. That's not how I like to play. And so I'm definitely not hedging from a site to site perspective, but there are going to be some guys who I end up higher or lower on just based upon the kind of nuances of each site, right? And it's mostly DraftKings, I would say. Let's see. Yeah, the Westbrook tax. Got to pay the Westbrook tax. Oh boy, Zion. I don't actually have 20% of Zion with Paulo. Oh, we're going right back to the Derek White well. That's a stance we're taking on all sites. Honestly, Derek White should be like a second round pick, I think. I have him at 24, I believe. 24 overall. It's kind of crazy. Like, did you see what he did the other night in the preseason game? I know it's a preseason game, and I know Jaylen Brown missed the second and third quarters. But, like, this is the role for this guy, and this is how good he is. He is the Celtics this year. Him and Jaylen Brown. Now Jaylen Brown's already hurt. It's like, he's nuts. As an example, I think Tari Eason has a big discrepancy in underdog versus DraftKings. Yeah, and I like Tari on all the sites. Tari is totally free. Let's see where my Tari exposure looks. So I'm at 22% Tari Eason. I have him ranked closer to 100, and he goes at pick 151. It's crazy. The Green Buffalo. Tari Eason, another reason why forward is deeper, right? He's going super late, like super late. I have some of my favorite guards. It's something I've been doing a lot of also from that kind of guard positional perspective on DraftKings. Again, this is DraftKings focus. I guess technically this does work across all sites, but is even if you're not like just completely hammering guard early, it's just making sure you get some kind of. Now, I literally just drafted like a 0 guard team. I just don't really like it. Getting 1 or 2 early guards just to kind of lock in the stability of those guards, then doubling back, right? Then maybe you're sandwiching in your centers and your forwards there in the middle, and then you kind of come back for some late puntish guards, the IOs of the world, right? And building out the depth of your guard room later with volume at the end of the draft. I think that's totally reasonable. I don't love Hartenstein, but let's get a little bit of that there. We're a bit weak at center with just Sar. Harden, D. White, and Paulo. Wow, actually a nice price on J-Dub, who I also don't really like here, but the playoff schedule for OKC is brutal. But again, as Denver says in the chat, you do have to get there. You do have to get there. As a Ravens fan, I can't wait for some Ant and the Wolves to play. As a Ravens fan, explain that one to me. Explain the Ravens part of Ant. What am I missing? Have seen Ant play live and in person, and I got to tell you, it's fun. Very fun. Highly recommend. Highly recommend. Pretty good at basketball. Pretty insanely athletic. Now let's do ace. Pretty squeamish about old Ace Bailey. I'm not going to lie to you, but it's a really nice price. I also don't hate like taking ace with Lauri Markkanen and doing stuff like that, adding on. So like, all right, so I took Derek White, getting your Baylor Shiremans of the world later, right? Taking Wemby's not a good example. Kind of handcuffing, if you will, because the production is so replaceable that, like, if I, in football, there is a form of uncertain, a certain amount of uncertainty where some, receiver gets hurt. It's like, so like look at the Raiders as an example. Oftentimes what happens, Jacoby Myers and Brock Bowers get hurt. Like Geno Smith is still playing, Ashton Genty is still playing. The offense didn't even have 100 yards. Like like you just don't want anybody. And sometimes, a running back gets hurt and we just don't even really know, right? Or multiple backs get hurt. We just don't even really know who the backup is, right? The next thing you know, Bam Knight is the starting running back for the Arizona Cardinals. Of course, there are, right, handcuff situations, Tyler Algier and whatever in football. But in basketball, it's kind of like, it's so long as these guys are playing NBA basketball and you get 30 to 36 minutes, you're like going to, now there are certain guys who just don't score fantasy points, right? Tony Snell, PJ Tucker, whatever. But like, so long as you're stepping into some like reasonable role, great. So like, okay, Derek White misses a week. I just filled, right, at least a flex with the Baylor Shireman or whatever, right? Alex Sarr misses some time. I know Marvin Bagley is there, so this is maybe not the best example. Tristan Vukovic steps in. You're like, I don't know, I just got 40 points a game for a week from this late round guy. So he at least, I can bide my time with some handcuffing in the NBA that doesn't work quite as well in that. Dang, this is going to be the Alex Sarr day, huh? That I like in the. Do I need to update the draft hacker to see my numbers like you have them? No, but you may have to go into your draft hacker settings, right? So if you want to update your draft hacker settings, go to Spike Week, go to draft hacker settings. You may have to click the reset button. You may have to click the reset button, but then you can also, of course, go in and set, right? If you want to, I kind of just do it fairly the same for all sports and all sites. I like to just see like combinatorial ownership stuff is what but there's a ton of different stuff in here. You can see spike weeks, you can see ADP changes, you can see all that stuff. You can set it, just go to the site and go to draft hacker settings. But so we have had people that needed to hit the reset button to show their exposures for NBA. Also make sure you have your the latest draft hacker, the latest browser extension. And if it isn't working, and if it still isn't working, go into the Discord, which of course there's a link in the description. Go to the tool support channel, and our resident wizard hacker will get you all set up and troubleshoot you. I'm sure he's probably already available this evening. In NBA, minutes equals money. If they get minutes, they will make you money. Not everybody, of course, right? There are PJ Tucker's played a lot of minutes over his NBA career and didn't make a lot of people a lot of money in fantasy. But of course, those are different. That's the most difficult part of all this is finding the guys that step into these roles, but then also have the skill set and the usage to produce in those minutes. Let's see here, what do we do on this team? Okay, 3 early guards. Yeah, see, guard gets really, really gross. Do Jabari. I don't want to do. I really like Kyle Filipowski, but I don't think I need 3 Jazz forwards on the same team. Probably, certainly not with Wemby. I think we're pretty good at forward on this team. Could probably use some center juice here, though. Let's do Kada here. And Harden, Derek White. So again, a little bit center and guard weak on this team. How about a Cam Thomas team? Haven't done very many of those. Got like 50% Kyle Filipowski on underdog, probably way too much. I mean, I think he's a really good pick. I do. The only hard part is, the opportunity cost of him. But I think he's just, are you giving up some of those other forwards, wings? He's a big on underdog, right? Yeah. He's a big. That's the only tricky part on DraftKings is because he is a forward and goes in that, like, okay, this is also where Jabari Smith goes. He goes a little bit ahead of Tari Easton. This is where I also like to take Cam Whitmore, right? Like there's just some other guys too. And you can move guys around the board. The ADP is whatever. Go get your guys. He's a really good. I mean, Kyle Filipowski is just a really good click for sure. Is the tool site specific or does it cross pollinate? So in terms of the exposures that you see are only for that site, but this tool works for all sites, and you can use, right? So when you upload your teams to the Chrome extension, you can also go in and see if you. So this is football, obviously, but you can see your exposure on all. So I can go in and click and see my exposures to players, and it will combine them across underdog, drafters, and DraftKings, right? So like in football, as an example, I have 55% shout out Will Shipley doing Zippo. I have 55% Will Shipley across all sites. You can see 63% on underdog, 57% on DraftKings, 44% on drafters. So that doesn't show in the draft hacker because that's only going to show you what the site that you're on, but you can look at your portfolio combined across all three sites, and that works for NBA as well. D. Davis says, I only did 5 double doubles and I got 106, 106, 106, 107, and 108. That is hilarious. So what's funny is we had a conversation about this the other day with like Jokic, and I will say I wouldn't want to have exclusively the 106, right? But the 106 is an awesome spot to draft this year because you can have Şengün or Cade. I have Şengün 6th and Cade 7th. If you wanted to, flip that around, I think that's fine, especially on underdog. It's a little bit different. Şengün on DraftKings is very clear 106 for me. You could probably make the case for 105 even over Shea. I know that sounds absurd, but it's true. Let's see here. We did Cam Thomas. Do I do a Sargon or do I do Pirtle? Let's do Pirtle. But I think that the 106, like I have a boatload of Şengün, and I've been forcing myself to take a little bit more Cade because at the 106 or 107, I just always take Şengün. And so why are those? Why Şengün and Cade? Like, why is it such a great year to have those guys? I think they're legitimately awesome clicks, like in any format, total points, whatever. I think the loss of Fred VanVleet is actually going to be sneaky awesome for Şengün. I think it's going to be right. We're calling Amen Thompson the point guard, and he sort of is, but it's kind of like how, like the hub, like Jokic is effectively the point guard of the Nuggets. I'm not calling Şengün Jokic, but he's going to operate in a somewhat similar way, right? Who's the point guard for the Sacramento Kings? It doesn't really matter because a lot of the offense flows through Sabonis, right? He's kind of the hub at the top of the key, at the elbow, whatever. I think that's how it's going to work for Houston as well this year. Which team is this? Okay. I keep getting get Io. Io is going to become one of my highest owned players here pretty darn quickly, I think. Yeah, I think I'm going to be... one more forward to make sure I get my playoff weeks. I think I need a Keyshawn George or a Whitmore on this team. So let's do Whitmore. God, so much Whitmore. What could possibly go wrong with Cam Whitmore off the bench on the Washington Wizards losing 65 games this year? What could possibly go wrong? He's just too good. He's too fun. Oh my, Asar comes back. Why, what is I don't understand why the world hates Asar Thompson so much. Breakout player of the year. Brother broke out last year. Asar is going to break out this year. Ivy's already hurt. It's definitely a Asar season. On the website now I'm taking it more seriously, doing hundreds of drafts. Can't keep up. Thanks. You are very welcome. I find the Draft Hacker to be, and Draft IQ to be like, and for NBA, it's really important too, because the combinatorial stuff, it's so, if you just draft off ADP and or you draft off ranks, you're going to get the same combinations constantly. And so using it to balance those out is like huge. Using it to balance it out, right? We always talk about, if you've listened to Spike Week before, we often talk about like, let's get this unique combination. Pull this guy goes on the right side of the board. Let's move him to the left side of the board. And that stuff's really powerful. It's definitely powerful in the NBA, right? If you show up to the final with Jokic, or you show up to the final with Giannis, and everybody else sticks to ADP, and you went to the other side of the board and took some different guys with Giannis, that's like a huge differentiator in these best ball finals. It's an awesome tactic to use in the NBA, especially where like these guys are not correlated, right? It's not like you're stacking a quarterback with a wide receiver. It's like these guys don't play on the same team. They don't play in the same conference. They don't play each other in the finals. Like, oh, they might play once out of their 22 games across the fantasy playoffs. They might play each other one time. Like, who gives a shit? There's zero correlation between the players. There's no reason other than ADP that these guys should be drafted together at a higher rate. So taking advantage of that is an awesome tactic. Like, if you like this guy, take him with guys that no one else takes him with. It's a great way to play, but also within your own portfolio, like even ignoring that, right? Like, even if we just say, I don't know, I just don't want I don't really give a shit what everybody else is doing. I don't want all my Şengün teams to look the same. I don't want all my Wemby teams to look the same, right? Because I don't want one injury. I don't want whatever. I'm literally making this up, right? I don't want LaMelo to be on 60% of my Wemby teams, and then LaMelo gets hurt, because LaMelo always fucking gets hurt, and then poof. Like, I don't know, Wemby was the first round pick you wanted, but I stupidly took LaMelo on all of those teams just because he was the guy at ADP. Like, I don't want my own teams to look the same every single time, right? So good to be back. Amen to why, Dad. That's why it feels nice to pair Giannis and Jokic with White, because other than the first drafts, White was cheap, and so no one gets that combo. Exactly. Right. The very beginning drafts with Derek White is that early round chess. That's why I'm going to have like 30% Derek White, is because I'm using him to move him. I want him with everybody. I want to have Derek White with all of these different guys. Oof. Who do I have at center? Okay. So I'm okay at center to start for a while. So I'm going to take Edie. I know he's out for quite a while, but I like using Edie for those playoff weeks. Oh shit. Oh, okay. Well, let's do Keyshawn. Oh, I thought this was the guard team. Okay, now we got to close out with guards. At least we started. I mean, this is fine. Donovan Mitchell, Derek White, Austin Reeves carried the day, but now I need to make sure I get to two more. My last two picks are guards on this team for sure. To get to 6, 7, 3. Adding Keyshawn George is fine. Just not perfect. For when Cam Whitmore's not playing for the God, so much Walter Clayton, so much Terrence Shannon. I'm trying to get a little bit more Cole Anthony. Let's do a Cole Anthony. he has the same playoff schedule as the Jazz. So functionally, right, him versus Walter Clayton. Now, in a vacuum, him and a rookie first round pick on the Jazz are very different bets, but functionally they'll be the same, right? If Kevin Porter Jr. or whatever is out, that would be the ideal scenario for Cole Anthony on that team. Let's see here. I'm trying to sprinkle a little bit of Norm, and I can double back and get my playoff week stuff to go around. J-Dub, right? I got Asar and I got Paulo. They have good playoff schedules. Norm does not, and J-Dub does not. But we'll double back for some Wizards. Tari Eason maybe makes sense on this team. Let's actually put some guys in the queue so I don't screw this up so bad next time. Flip is pretty good on this team too. And Whitmore, okay. All right. Jalen Williams is inactive for the beginning of the season. DK has some players listed as a forward that play guard or center. Isaiah Jackson plays center, but yeah, exactly. The positional stuff on DraftKings is a little bit all over the place. I mean, frankly, all the sites have some that I would disagree with. It's just DraftKings has a little bit more, little bit of a, confused look you'll get going through the player positions on DraftKings. But just, it is what it is. It doesn't really, it's not going to change our lives, but it's something we can take advantage of in knowing which guys, right? Like you said, Isaiah Jackson. I thought months and months ago, I thought coming in, I'd be like, oh man, Isaiah Jackson might be a pretty darn good best ball pick. And I'm not so sure about that anymore. Okay. Oh, okay. Cody mentioned about he's excited to see Ant play, and he was mentioning the Ravens, and I was very confused about what the Ravens had to do with Anthony Edwards. He says, well, it's because the Ravens are 1-5. Now I got it. Makes sense. That makes perfect sense. The Ravens are extremely depressing. Lamar also still didn't practice today, and so we're excited for the Timberwolves, because Timberwolves are going to be really good. At least we got this report. Yeah, Memphis medical team sucks at reporting. They're absolutely terrible. But at least we got this report. I don't feel so. This is not ideal, of course. Ty Jerome is. I say, okay, hold on. Let me make sure I don't screw this up. Yeah, let's just do Shannon. Come on. All right, we'll do one. We'll hop in one more here while I'm waiting 4 picks for my next pick in that other draft. Get in one more here. That'll lead. That should get us right up to Monday Night Football. Should be about perfect timing. But yeah. So Whitead says Ty Jerome to miss at least 4 weeks with a high grade strained calf. I kind of thought it was going to be. I was just hoping it wasn't like, Achilles. But like, obviously, we would probably have known if he ruptured, if he tore his Achilles. But I was pretty concerned about what it was going to look like. Let's take Flip on this team. I didn't have him enough with some of these guys. He helps a little bit with the playoff schedule. Use Eason in one of the Washington guys to close out. That would be 7. Stay at 6 guards, maybe. Yeah, I think that's fine. Yeah, we'll think about that. Think about what to do there. But I think this is not best case scenario. I mean, best case scenario, Ty Jerome would be like, oh, he'll miss a week or whatever, right? Missing at least a month. And then, the crazy thing with these injuries, I think Bill Simmons was saying this on like their over under podcast, which is really a really good listen, by the way. Thank God Zach Lowe is on there because there's just Bill is ripping some takes that are just he's something. But mentioning like, when you hear an injury, like a reporting of injury in the NBA, and they say, he'll be back in 2 weeks, right? Or he's going to miss about 2 weeks. It's like, I just add X amount of time, right? If someone says 10 weeks, I say 14. Because that's usually, honestly, they don't really come back sooner. Usually it is a more extended absence than what they report. And there's like this ramp up, and then there's like, okay, well, he's not going to play back-to-backs right away, right? He's going to start out. We're going to manage his minutes, right? He's going to only play 18 minutes for the first week, then we're going to ramp it back up. So it is like, so let's say he gets back he's back on the court on an NBA, playing NBA basketball games in 6 weeks. Functionally, we're talking 2 months before Ty Jerome is worth anything. So that's not great. It's definitely not great, but it's also let's do Eason, and then I think that's probably it at the wing with Paulo, J-Dub, Sar. Because just Harden and White is not ideal, especially when Cam Thomas is the third guard. I probably just need 7 guards on this team, I think. But yeah, so like this is very much not ideal for Ty Jerome. This is very much not ideal for the Memphis Grizzlies. No Scottie Pippen, no Ty Jerome. Obviously, Triple J is like back and playing, but he was hurt, right? Ja Morant is going to play on opening night, but he was already banged up. It's a lot going on in Memphis. But I do think this, like, if you already have Ty Jerome, if you want to just say I'm not drafting any more Ty Jerome with that, right? He already has a hurt calf. Those things are scary. I think that's totally reasonable. But also, he's going to plummet to the last round. Now, you're going to be able to get him in any draft that you want moving forward. And ultimately, one thing I always do try to remind myself is that it's very scary going into the season that with these guys being hurt, right? It's not fun. You never want that feeling of heading into the season. You got like multiple injured guys, because it feels like that's a very ominous sign. This is an 82 game basketball season. These are generally, now Kobe White and Tyler Hero and stuff like that are different, but these are late round picks. If I have best ball teams that really truly need Ty Jerome in the first month, that team's probably pretty shitty. Or I drafted too many hurt guys, right? There's a balancing act to that. We don't want to just like wheels up, I'm drafting all the hurt guys, right? You can't just like stick your head in the sand with the injured guys, but you also can't just say, I'm not drafting the hurt guys that, oh no, he's hurt already, this is bad. Because like guys come back and crush, it's in the long season. And what we're really playing for is the stuff at the end. We're months and months and months away, right? We're 5 months away from when we make our money here. We got to get there. But like, if my 15th round pick doesn't play for the first 2 months, do I really give a shit? Like, I drafted James Harden and Derek White. If those guys aren't like counting at least as like flex plays, like I need Ty Jerome to outscore James Harden, like that team is screwed, right? It's not that cut and dry, but that's kind of how I think about it, is like, so long as you're somewhat comfortable with that guy, coming back and you liked him before, and right, all that kind of stuff, like it's okay. That's it. I agree. Like the Edey thing is not great. I would prefer that Edey wasn't out for so long. He's a 7'4" dude. That never feels good, right? For those guys to be having lower body issues. But like, I'm playing for him for the second half of the season, essentially. So draft 3 or 4 bigs on those teams. Draft him on a Jokic team, right? He actually pairs really well with Jokic. Edey has 8 games in the finals. Jokic only has 6. So like, is he going to outscore Jokic? No, that seems unlikely. But he pairs well And you're clearly just using Jokic's score every single week, right? I'm using Şengün's score. Like either 3 games, okay, go get me 150, dude, and you're counting in the regular season. It's fine. Like it's totally fine. Yeah, I agree. I hate the at least. It leaves everything open. Yeah, that's the problem. And that's also why when they say at least 4 weeks, like it's going to be more than 4 weeks. Like it's going to be more than 4 weeks. Like just they said at least 4 weeks, like Ty Jerome's out for 2 months. That's just where my brain goes. Is like at least 4 weeks. All right, 20 to January. Right, something like that, probably, which is not good. This is not me trying to spin it as good. It's just it's also not. It could have been worse. It could have been much worse. So I don't know how much more Ty Jerome I will draft. I'm definitely not like completely scared off from him, but I'm also not like excited to draft him either. Right, like Scoot's new price. Or like I have a good clip of Scoot. Doesn't make me feel good. I'm not excited about it. I do want to go get. I'm trying to get more of both of the Nets. I prefer Ben Saraf actually to Yegor Demin. Shout out to my guy Ben Saraf. Watch some Nets from the preseason. Saraf is a crafty little dude. I like him. I kind of like his game. He's a really good passer, and like I said, he's got some craft to his game. I actually think he's better than Demin, but they spent the earlier pick. They're both first round picks. Demin was drafted a little bit earlier. So I'm kind of balancing between both of them. Nothing like losing more money on the Nets again this year. Yeah. Cobra says, as many people just learn with Kittle, the he's back doesn't always equate with fantasy points. Yep. The he's back time doesn't always equate. And like Kittle played great, like real life football. They just didn't throw, he wasn't involved in the passing game. Shit. Nobody was for San Francisco. All right. Luka team. Let's go. In your opinion, what is the optimal structure for a team on DraftKings? I would not say 6-6-4, but I have 6-6-4 teams. 6-6-4 would be like I punted center, right? And I have these teams where you're like, shit, it got to the 9th round. I don't have a center yet. Give me Edie, right? But Edie's hurt. So now I'm like, okay, Edie's out. I need, give me Keita and Mitchell Robinson and whatever, right? Or like I have a weak big team and I toss Derek Queen on there at the end, or like I said, Jay Huff, or what have you. I have 4 center teams, but it's like when I really kind of punted the position and I'm just scrambling to put together anything that can keep me in there, right? I don't want to lose too many points in the regular season to the other teams because I do still need to advance. Plus, in the playoffs, right? You're trying to okay, this guy plays 8 games this week. This guy plays 8 games this week. This guy, you're kind of trying to Frankenstein a really high scoring center from cheap. So I kind of need 3 or 4 of those guys. My ideal is 2. My ideal center out, it would be 7-7-2, right? I have my 2 centers. It's got all my regular season production taken care of. It's got my playoff week production taken care of, and like we're all good. That's ideal because then I can load up at guards and wings. Doesn't always work that way though, right? Doesn't always work that way. There's 7-6-3, 6-7-3, right? You draft a bunch of early guards and maybe mediocre centers. It's kind of playing it by ear. But if I said this on the Underdog show as well, I start from a 7-7-2, right? Everything starts at 7-7-2, and then I pick guys up and move them into other buckets, right? I'm like, oh, no, I'm not that good at center. I got to take away, right? But I'm really good at guard. Okay, now my guard goes down to 6, and my big goes up to 3, right? Like, oh, I'm really good at forward. Actually, I'm really bad at center. Now I take one from the forward spot too. Now it's 6-6-4, right? But it starts at 7-7-2, and then I pick pieces up and drop them into the other buckets based upon the strength of each position. Yeah, I will. 664 on underdog is not my ideal, but I do have some where, again, like I think you can just like straight punt the center position. The other thing that I do think is notable that we have to remember is that centers score a lot of fantasy points. We may not be picking the right ones in our drafts, but like centers score a lot of centers are like running backs in that by the fact of playing center on an NBA basketball team and like being able to walk and chew gum, you get a lot of rebounds, you get some blocks and some steals, you get some easy dunks and layups, right? Because you're setting the screen and you're rolling to the hoop, you can get an offensive rebound because you're 7 foot tall. Like just through this play 30 minutes a night and play the center position in the NBA, and you just naturally you score more fantasy points than like a wing does, right? Okay, hold on. Let me make this pick first, then double back for the Luka thing. I'm gonna do guard. Oh no. Okay, Shireman it is. Okay, let's see what I gotta move Bam down the ranks, guys. I gotta move Bam. Oh, Amen, Luka. Let's go. Now we're having fun. But yeah, it's like I don't want to overdo it at the big on underdog or center on DraftKings, but I also don't want to restrict myself to like. There's no reason I can't draft. I like Keita a lot, right? There's no reason I can't draft Keita. There's no reason I can't draft Jakob Poeltl or Zach Edey or whatever. Like these guys can just score 40 plus more easily than Keyshawn George. Like I love Keyshawn George. I'm gonna have like 40% Keyshawn George, right? I'm gonna have 70% Cam Whitmore. It's just easier for a center to do it. They get double, right? DraftKings says double and triple bonuses. Obviously, these guys are not getting triple doubles, but it's a 1.5 points. It's not that big of a deal. But right, you score 10 real life points, grab 10 rebounds. That's 12 fantasy points. So there's 22. And you get the 1.5 point. There's 23 points right there from 10 and 10. Right now, you get a few blocks, right? Dish out a couple assists. The next thing you know, you're at 40 fantasy points, and you're like not even a very good player. You just played 32 minutes of NBA center. It's like, again, like Bam Knight, right? These guys are like Bam Knight. Should we just keep doing Derek? Okay, let's do this. I'm gonna take Derek White again, and we're gonna do this like super duper heavy guard start and see how this looks. Like 4 or just 5 guards. With Amen makes it really nice because the playoff weeks already look okay in my guard position. Luka, Amen, and Derek White were sitting all right from the playoff week perspective. Did I say Puka team? I don't know. Maybe we're in the hybrid times. I'm in NBA mode, but also the NFL is going on, right? It's certainly possible at a Freudian slip. Tyler Lockett released. That's funny. Oh my gosh, yeah. MPJ and Cam Thomas together chucking 40 plus times a game. Jeez, man. MPJ, dude. I mean, I don't even really have any words. He needs to stop talking. Like I probably do too. Someone might argue that. Like, Eric, why are you talking on the internet? You have a bunch of dumb takes. But like, there's levels to bad takes. I have plenty of them. I just told you I drafted 50% Will Shipley, right, in NFL Best Ball. Good job, idiot. That's a bad take. The real bad take is like the stuff that comes out of MPJ's mouth every single time they put a microphone in front of him. It's like next level bad. It's like, is it if he hadn't already ruined his like legacy? Like he's really ruining his legacy. Just stop. Dude, you're making so much money. You're a professional basketball player. You don't have to share with the world every single thing that's on your mind. I don't share with the world everything that's on my mind, just all my terrible sports takes. Yeah, it's absolutely beautiful. Sports equinox. College basketball starting. College football is going on. We are almost to the World Series will be here. And then when the World Series is going on, we will have all the major sports happening. It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful time. What a great time to be alive. Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. This is fair. I wanted to share the terrible takes, so I know not to draft them. I'm not drafting MPJ, by the way. He'll score some fantasy points when he plays. Just give me the young Nets, right? A sprinkle of Cam Thomas, just because I think he really, can score for sure, and they're going to give him free reign too. But give me some of the young Nets: Demon, Seraph, Danny Wolf, right? Give me those guys, and they may end up being absolutely terrible too. But like, who could possibly be? First of all, Demon or Seraph kind of have to play a lot. / both have to play a lot. They don't have any point guards on the team. Now, I'm not sure the Nets care about a functional NBA lineup, but it would be nice to have somebody that can. That's why I kind of think Seraph is a good fit for them. You know who could use someone passing them the ball because they don't want to pass? Cam Thomas and MPJ, right? Seraph can set them up. He may not going to shoot a lot because those guys ain't going to let him shoot a lot. But poor Nick Claxton. That's what I'll say. Poor Nick Claxton. Pretty good NBA basketball player. Not a great situation. I agree. I mean, I'm worried about the shutdown but the interesting part about the shutdown stuff, yeah, exactly. This is my concern as opposed to full shutdown. MPJ just has lots of injury stuff that adds into, right? He's constantly hurt. And this isn't the Denver Nuggets in the playoffs where he's playing through a separated shoulder or whatever. He ain't going to be playing through a separated shoulder for the 10-win Brooklyn Nets in March or whatever. So that's my concern with Cam Thomas too, is not that they shut him down. Because the thing to think about from the shutdown stuff is these teams that are so bad, they don't need to shut these guys down in order to lose. They're gonna lose. They're gonna lose with them on the floor. Okay, we said we're gonna do guard. So damn, this is gonna be the Alex Sarr show, huh? Because I said I was gonna do. I'm absolutely not doing DeAndre Ayton, by the way. All right, we're gonna do. Let's just do Alex Sarr here because I want to start with the guard. I want to build one of these mega guard builds to start. We can see how fun. There's just a lot. There's such a depth of forward throughout the entire draft. I think we can piece together forward through volume really easy, both in the regular season and in the fantasy playoffs. So I would really love a Duran on this team. Of course, Şengün in the first round would be awesome too, but Sarr will do. But I think some of the teams have learned, the Wizards, the Jazz, have learned that even tanking all the way to the bottom with the new lottery odds doesn't make as big of a difference. You just need to be in the bottom 5, and they could play all their guys all season long, and they'll be in the bottom 5. The Wizards and the Jazz are so bad, and the Nets, all three of those teams are so bad that it doesn't matter. It does not matter. They will be in the bottom 5. Let Trey Johnson and Cam Whitmore and Bub Carrington and Keyshawn George and Alex Sarr and Cam Thomas and Keontae George and Walter Clayton, and let them do their thing. It's fine. It's totally fine. See, this is a little bit of the problem with the guard part. I don't hate Dyson. I hate the freaking playoff schedule, but I don't hate Dyson here. I could do Kobe. Let's do Kobe. I know he's gonna miss a little bit of time, but I have Luka, Amen, and Derek White. Oh no, I don't have Kobe White for the first couple weeks. I think that's fine. So let's do Kobe. because then I could also do. I'll literally do a 5th guard and be done, because this range of guard is still really good. Quickly, Pritchard, the aforementioned Cam Thomas. I like KPJ. I think Jordan Poole is fine. Nembhard is fine. So we'll get one more solid guard here. As you can see, not doing the Jalen Green thing, and maybe that one's silly. I just also, for my mental health, I don't want to have US dollars on Jalen Green. Do we watch the playoffs? Like, Jalen Green on an unserious, like Jalen Green on the most serious, like Ime and that team was some serious shit. They play hard. They play tough. No one wants to play against them. Ime is no joke as a head coach. And Jalen Green was still a freaking joke as an NBA basketball player. He's a circus show. Now he's on an unserious organization that's like piecemealing together this like pray to God to be 10th in the West roster around Devin Booker. Like Dylan Brooks, Jalen Green. Like, I like Ryan Dunn. And like Mark Williams. Like, what are we doing? It's like all the sideshow freaks and Devin Booker. So yeah, for your mental health, don't do Jalen Green. It won't make you feel better about yourself. Who provides the best daily NBA projections in your opinion? I don't think I have the knowledge of all the projections everywhere. There's so many now. There's a lot of really talented people in the space. I work with Roto Grinders, and so I will always shout them out. I got into the industry with Roto Grinders. I still, I do the Sunday morning show. Like yesterday, I was doing a show on Roto Grinders. I love the team that founded them. Like they're some of my great friends and will always be great friends. Like they were invited to my wedding, the founders of Roto Grinders. So that they'll always hold a special place in my heart. But there's a lot of great, like I obviously established the Run NBA, Dink and those guys are crushers. Like you should listen to Drew Dinkmeyer and what's Mike's last name? Oh my God, I can't believe I'm blanking on this. Anyway, the ETR NBA crew is top notch. I will always have another special place in my heart. Adam Scher, now whatever they're Run the Sims and whatever they're doing, is a killer in the NBA streets, and he's super duper smart. So those aren't the only places that you can go. There's a lot of really talented people doing the NBA projection stuff, but those are just some of the ones that I've been closest to over the course of my entire career. No, not Leone. They're basketball guy. Leone doesn't do the basketball, I don't think. I mean, he's probably involved. I would assume he's just not the basketball ball knower. That's Thank you, Gallagher. Thank you. Oh, I think that. See, if I cared about my mental health, I wouldn't be doing best ball. See, I think best ball is wonderful for your mental health. People need to just be more positive. There's plenty of things to be positive about. With all right, yeah, we're doing quickly and being done because I can still get one of these fun forwards on the bring back here, right? So Luka, Amen, Derek White, Kobe White, and Emmanuel Quickly. Damn, that's a fun guard room. And we'll stop at 5. We'll probably get to 3 centers because Alex Sarr, I don't want to only rely upon Alex Sarr and one more guy. We'll get to 3 centers on this team, which is 8, right? That'll be 8, and then 8 forwards. What's your Jared McCain percentage? 8. I like him fine. It's been difficult to me to get to him over Io. You guys know I love Terrence Shannon. Who else? Who else am I missing? A little bit down the board at guard. Well, it was Ty Jerome, Scoot, Walter Clayton. let's see. The Nets guys I like, right? Cole Anthony, Baylor Shireman. He's in the mix. Once we get past, right, Io and Shannon and some of those guys that I really, really like, he's very much in the mix back there. I'm at 8%. I'll finish 10 plus for sure. I'll finish 10 plus, but I'm not going to be at like 30% Jared McCain or anything like that. But I think he's a good click. See, now the question becomes, if I take the first forward now and come back for center, Asar is such a good foundational piece at forward. I know I have Lowry here, but Asar with the playoff schedule, Asar being able to like, yeah, come on. Stick to your guns. Luka, Amen, Derek White, Alex Sarr, Kobe White, Emmanuel Quickly, and Asar Thompson. This is a tricky team to read, to read out loud. But yeah, people, we gotta just like, even if your advance rate is bad or your highest exposure players or it's not going well, or like, there's so many things to enjoy during the best ball roller coaster. Like yesterday in the NFL, as an example, like Chris Rodriguez gets one carry and scores a touchdown. Like, I don't know. I used his score a bunch of places. Did it like really move the needle in like my advance rate? Of course not. 7 points or whatever. Like, not a big deal. But that was awesome. Right? Tyrone Tracy goes untouched up the middle for this touchdown. He's the RB15 on the week or whatever, even though he's backing up Cam Scatteraboo, who's a top 5 running back. Like, that was awesome. Right? Kyle Monungai. Right? It's like, could things go more perfectly? Sure. I would prefer CMC didn't score 40 fucking fantasy points. Yes. But like, I don't know. AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, Jamar Chase, like these guys are all going ham, and like we'll just find something to complain about. It's like, did you not watch Devontae Smith have 200 yards? Like, why can't we celebrate the fun stuff instead of complaining about all the things that are going wrong? It's like, spoiler alert, it's best ball. A lot of shit's going to go wrong. Guys are going to get hurt. Malik Neighbors going to get hurt. Right. Wait, someone's like, these NBA guys are already hurt. Like, things are not going to go well. Right. We're going to get to the later of the season, and my 70% Cam Whitmore is going to be sitting in street clothes on the end of the Wizards bench, watching Will Riley and Trey Johnson shoot. Right. Like, it happens, but we do the best we can over the course of the summer, and we should try to enjoy the ride. I haven't drafted any on DraftKings. Which site is sharper, would you say? Definitely Underdog. Underdog is definitely sharp. Underdog and drafters are definitely sharper, but I personally think, obviously, this is just my take on NBA Best Ball ADPs. I'm not the wizard or the maestro or whatever, but we've been able to have some success over the course of the years. Like I think people. I think the ADP, the market, if you will, in NBA Best Ball is just overall not great, like in terms of, accuracy, right? Like Asar Thompson is falling in drafts, and I think he should be rising by like 3 rounds. Like, there's just a lot of stuff that I don't think is correct. So I'm a pretty big fan of drafting on all of the sites. I think DraftKings is the most exploitable one, though. I can't do Mark Williams. Also, Mark Williams is really pretty disastrous with Sarr. They both have their 8 gamers in the same week. OG fits with a Sarr because he has the 8 games in the middle week. And I really never take OG. Oh no, let's do OG for once. Oh no. Mark Williams is my Darren Waller. On this team. Okay, so now I need to think about this. I'm pretty good in the semifinals. That big, Mark Williams and Alex Sarr. I can't fathom a scenario in which Mark Williams plays all 8 of those games, but nonetheless, Mark Williams, Alex Sarr. I can deal with probably Sarr in the quarterfinals with 7, but my last big definitely needs to have 8 games in the final. So Edie, Wendell Carter, Ryan Kalkbrenner, Jesus Christ, Clint Capella. Okay, so Edie or Wendell Carter to close out the big spot here, I think. God damn it. Exactly. Getting a 2-point Keaton Mitchell came in and got 2 points the other week. That was fun. He was out there. I was enjoying it. I was enjoying watching him get his 3 touches or whatever that he had on the season. That was great. Never rooting for anyone to be injured, but when Saquon's getting his shoulder checked out on the sideline and you're like, wait, is the season turning? Am I going to maybe get something useful out of Tank Bigsby and or Will Shipley? And no, you didn't. Shit, Saquon goes back in the game. But like, it's great. Enjoy the little bit of fun. Last year in the NBA, the Josh Giddey first half was like, right, something that would be very easy to be like, well, got this wrong. He sucks. He's playing 28 minutes and he's still terrible. And then you get the second half where it's like, yeah, see, this is why we drafted him. And Josh Giddey was like league winner of all league winners. Denny Avdia down the stretch last year, just an absolute league winner. It's like, sure, you draft, like I drafted a bunch of Cam Whitmore last year, by the way. Like, you drafted a bunch of Cam Whitmore and he's literally not even in the rotation. That sucks. But, it's all right. I think I'm going to do with Mark Williams. I usually do Edie, but you see, I have a little bit more Edie. I'm going to do Wendell Carter, actually. I really don't love it. But part of me watching the preseason, we talked about this in the Spike Week Discord. If you watch the Magic in the preseason, so they add Desmond Bane. I'm super bullish on the Magic overall this year, like as a real life NBA team. I bet their team total over. I bet them to win the East, whatever. But I think Desmond Bane's presence is lifting, and not through Desmond Bane's box score production, but Desmond Bane's presence on the floor, his gravity, right? He's one of the best shooters on planet Earth. And he's also specifically, like, he's not Steph Curry. I'm not saying that, but in terms of gravity of like the floor spacing that he provides, he's also a very deep 3-point shooter. And then also he's a good passer and a good playmaker. He moves without the ball really well, right? He played off the ball a lot alongside Ja and Jaren. What he's providing to their offense is just opening things up for Paolo, Franz, and so far Wendell Carter, that maybe there's a level. I know there's a level that Paolo and Franz can get to that we haven't seen. And I think they're going to get to it. I think they're both awesome picks. But a part of me has started to wonder if, like, I've been just like totally out on Wendell Carter. Like, I need to sprinkle a little bit of him in. I'm not going to get crazy. Like, maybe I get 8% or something. But like, I mean, I always thought he was good in Chicago. Like, I mean, they traded the farm. They traded the Bulls traded for Vooch, and they get Wendell Carter's just better than Vooch. Anyway, if this Bane thing is just like going to open up a level for all these guys to get to, including Wendell Carter. And so with Sarr and Mark Williams, I could have a little more stability than waiting 3 months for Zach Edey to get back is probably not a bad idea. And he accomplishes the same goal of 8 games in the finals. Who do you have getting out of the East? I legitimately like the Magic. I know that that's a hot take. You have to forgive me. I just can't do it with the Knicks. But I do like the Knicks over the Cavs. I think the Cavs just have like truly inherent flaws in the roster with Mobley and Allen, with the lack of wing defense, the lack of kind of shooting. I don't trust DeAndre Hunter all that much. The loss of Ty Jerome, Strus is hurt already. Garland is hurt already. They're pretty thin around the big four. So it's the Knicks or the Magic for me. I'm really in on the Magic this year. I think that I really think that Bane, I know it felt like a lot when they traded for Bane, but I just think it's like the most perfect straight hand and glove fit with Bane alongside Paulo Franz and really the whole identity. This is what they're missing, right? They tried to do this with KCP, and this is like KCP on years and years and years of steroids, right? It's just not even comparable. So I'm going to bat for the Santi Footcon still. Wow, hell yeah. Oh, okay. Let's actually do Jabari Smith. Lock down all right, so 8, right? I got 2 forwards with 8 games in the quarters and the finals now already. So like we're sitting really pretty on now. Obviously, we got my Washington guys that can fill in some 8 games in the semifinals. And we're sitting really nice. Really, really nice. How much do you like the Clippers' chances to come out of the West? Placed an early bet on them. I really liked the Clippers last year, and the roster is better. I would be lying if I said I wasn't worried about the fact that they are like the most geriatric team of all time. Chris Paul, Brooke Lopez, Bradley Beal, John Collins added alongside all these guys is a little bit concerning. But you have when you have 12 of them, it's like, sure, everybody can take turns, right, sitting out. All right, Harden, you sit out tonight. Kawhi, you sit out the next night. Beal, you sit out the next night. CP, you sit out the next night, and everybody can kind of get their rest, and you still have a really, really good team. The problem with them is just the West. The problem is not that they're good. They're definitely good. It's twofold. OKC, I still believe in the Rockets, by the way, without Fred. But OKC and Denver are so good. They're the best 2 teams in the league, and they're both in the West. Then you have Houston. The Golden State is good. Golden State is good. Minnesota is good, right? These teams are good. The Lakers, if and when LeBron comes back, like are no joke. There's just so many good teams in the West. So then when you have James Harden and his playoff foibles, when you have Kawhi Leonard and his injuries and fake, promotion contract aspiration K2, whatever, drama that's going on with Steve Ballmer, there's just some fairly real concerns. Oh yeah, this is a great Kyle Filipowski team. So I really like the Clippers team, and I think they're going to be awesome. It's just like by the time the playoffs get here, do I trust James Harden? Do I trust Kawhi Leonard to be healthy? Which ultimately is what is going to be the biggest thing for them. I don't know. I trust the Denver machine and Jokic more, and I trust OKC more. So that's the problem. But could they be third in the West? Yeah, I think so. Could they like, if Jokic, and he never does, right? But if Jokic plays 62 games instead of 73 games or whatever this year, could the Nuggets be like the 4 seed again and the Clippers are the 2 seed? Sure. Right? The Rockets are going to be a regular season wins fucking machine. The Warriors are going to be awesome so long as everybody is healthy, but we'll see. They're old as shit as well. It's going to be fun. It's going to be really, really fun, but the Clippers are very much in the mix. Excited for the Spurs. Year 3 Wemby. When Fox gets back, Dylan Harper. The West is... We've been saying this for what seems like decades, where the least, right? The Eastern Conference is pretty pathetic, and the West is just so loaded. This year in particular feels like, I don't know, man, like there's going to be play-in teams in the West that we would be like, could they have won the East? Like, so seriously, think about OKC, Denver, Clippers, Houston, Warriors, Timberwolves, Rockets. That's 7 teams. One of them is going to be in the play-in. I did not even mention the Lakers, right? Nuggets, Thunder. Okay. Nuggets, Thunder, Clippers, Lakers, Warriors, Timberwolves, Rockets. Well, who else did I miss? Did I say like there's going to be teams that are 10th. The Spurs might be fighting for 10th. And they would be like fourth in the East. Like, are the Pistons better than the Spurs? I know the Pistons had a really fun year last year, right? And they're good. They're good for the East. Are the Pistons really better than the Spurs? The Pistons are certainly not better than the Timberwolves, who might be like the 9 seed. And I'm not saying they're going to be, but like, right? The Lakers might be the 9 seed with Luka Doncic, LeBron James, and Austin Reeves. Like, that's insane. So it's truly nuts. Like, I kind of like the Portland Trailblazers, and they have no fucking shot. None. Right? Especially without Scoot. Like, they needed kind of a Scoot breakout to even potentially sniff the 10 seed. Right? The Kings, right? We were talking about the Kings before with like DeRozan and all that kind of at the very beginning. We were talking about the Kings with DeRozan. It's like, how in the actual hell do the Kings get in? Like, how do they even get in the play-in? Cam Whitmore time. Yes, please. See, this is why, like, the early guards, make sure you're still good at big. You can build out some just sick teams, dude. Like, I don't want to have none of the early forwards, right? I really like Scotty Barnes, Jalen Johnson. I'm going to have some Zion. Obviously, Giannis and Wemby, I'm taking them when I get those spots. Paulo, I love. Franz, I love, right? There's a lot of these guys that I like. I don't want to have none of them. But if you had to pick one, like, what's your favorite way to build? It's this, pretty much. I prefer my bigs were a little bit better. But you get the point, right? Like, if I could get Şengün, or like, give me Jalen Duren plus Saw instead of Saw, Mark Williams, Wendell Carter. If you give me like Duren plus Saw, and like I could stop at 2 bigs if I want to on that team. I could get to 6 guards if I want to, but I'm still getting my 8 forwards, and it's like a bunch of the cheap forwards. Like, this would be my favorite way to build. Yeah, I never even mentioned. Yeah, it says the Mavericks when Kyrie comes back. Kyrie, Cooper Flag, AD, Lively, whatever it is about, whatever this Clay stuff is. PJ Washington, of course, Gafford. I really like Najee Marshall, D'Angelo Russell. I like the little Brandon Williams kid, right? Like, I'm probably even forgetting some guys that are on the Mavs that are like quality NBA players. It's silly, man. Right? That's why I like the Memphis thing. Why is all this stuff more concerning for Memphis? Not just because it's overall like generally concerning for Memphis, which it is, but look at the Western Conference. Thank you. Yes, Max Christie. I knew I was forgetting a 3-and-D guy that they had that I liked. Jovic. What's going on with Jovic, by the way? Any update on his health? That was 3 days ago instead of the 20th. Yeah. Oh, so he's back full practice. Okay, we're good. I was starting to get a little worried. Oh, Lions scored. Amon-Ra. Sounds about right. That was quick. I like going 4 centers on DraftKings. Yeah, I think it's fine. We want JMO. The Fally Dante. I haven't seen the one of Brooke Lopez. Hold on. What is this guy doing? Okay, it's fine. Certainly haven't seen Brad Beal, Brooke Lopez, Nafali Dante. Yeah, well, we're in the 13th round. We'll wrap this up and everybody can go watch football. It's not like you can't watch football while we're doing this. Anyway, maybe you don't give a shit about football. NBA season starts tomorrow. By the way, Austin Reeves overs, I think, tomorrow. This is the move. No LeBron. Are they unaware that LeBron's not going to play? Luka doesn't do everything. Just most things. But yeah, I think 4 centers is fine. I try to. It's just like, again, how strong are you? I don't want to just keep piling on centers just to pile them on. But I also want to be fluid with my roster construction. Part of the problem with taking too many centers is the prices they're pulled way up because of the positional scarcity. So while centers can score more, like I said, you're also paying a premium for guys projected to score less and like lesser talented players. Now, I like some of them like a lot, but you're not getting into you're going to pass on potential absolute breakout. Like Kyle Filipowski was scoring like 45 fantasy points a game down the stretch in like 28 minutes. Right. I know no one cares about this, but like Summer League MVP, right? Terrence Shannon, Summer League, like could like break out into some, right? Jovic could break out into like, holy shit, no, this is like a real thing. This is like a real serious fantasy asset to have. And you're paying a premium for Nafali Dante, right? You're paying a premium for a Dembona. I like a Dembona fine. He's one of my like core picks. I'm gonna have a bunch of a Dembona, but I'm also realistic about what I'm getting from a Dembona. This dude ain't gonna be dropping 50 balls every night. He's a defense first, second year center, who's a bet against Joel Embiid. He also did start alongside Joel Embiid in the preseason. So like, it's a balancing act. It's a balancing act. Here's a guy I really got to get my exposure up to. Chris Boucher, also a phenomenal bet on these kinds of teams. I think Chris Boucher is going to start at the 4 for the Boston Celtics, and it's like no one cares. Chris Boucher, historically a very good fantasy producer in the minutes that he gets. Obviously, hasn't gotten a ton of minutes for Toronto over the years. This is his opportunity. This is it. This is the chance to show everybody what Chris Boucher can do, and I think he's going to start at the 4 for the Boston Celtics. 14th, 15th round, right? Available in the second to last round. Yeah, exactly. Chalk Chris Boucher for years and years and years, right? Pascal Siakam's not playing today. Chris Boucher for $3,000, 60% owned, right? Plays 22 minutes, and you pray to God he does some stuff in those 22 minutes. Another one that we're taking that the world has given up on, Jaime Jaquez. I think it's bounce back season for Jaime Jaquez this year. And again, the fantasy world, I don't think the Heat have given up, and I think some basketball minds out there are not giving up on Jaime Jaquez. But like Tyler Hero is out for a while. They don't have Jimmy Butler anymore. I know they got Norm Powell. I know Aaron Wiggins there. I like Jovic a lot as a potential breakout piece. But like 2 years ago, we would have been saying, why is that? Well, they don't have Jimmy Butler anymore. Tyler Hero's out, and Jaime Jaquez is available in the second to last or last round of best ball drafts. That seems crazy. Jordan Clarkson, good Lord. See, I'm not trying to slander, right, other people's picks and stuff. I like a lot of these guys that have gotten drafted here. But then also you have like Klay. Like, at what purpose does Klay Thompson serve in best ball? Yang Hansen, like maybe down the stretch, I could see it. Center is really bad on Portland, although Time Lord Robert Williams was full practice. He's like back, at least to some degree, for Portland, and of course, Donovan Clingan is the starter. Jordan Clarkson, like, I guess if Jalen Brunson gets hurt, but like, is Jordan Clarkson really going to be like a difference maker? I don't know. I don't see it. What do you think about Grimes and Oubre? They were dropping 40 to 50 a few nights in a row in DFS. Yeah, I like Grimes more than Oubre, but I can see it. Obviously, when they were scoring those significant amounts of fantasy points, everybody was out for the Philadelphia 76ers. Now, this is a team with Joel Embiid and Paul George, and so that is certainly possible again. However, McCain was out then. Maxey wasn't playing at the end of the season then, and they added VJ Edgecombe. So my concern is that even in the scenario this year in which, let's just say, Embiid and Paul George are not playing again, the East is bad. So the level of tanking from the Sixers is probably not going to, they're just not gonna, what can you do if Embiid misses the whole season again? But right, Maxey is not just gonna like be benched down the stretch. And then even if he is, they have Edgecombe and hopefully Jared McCain as well to steal some of the crazy production there for sure. So I'm just like only lukewarm on them. I'm going to draft a little bit of Grimes, but probably no Oubre, which is sad because I've been taking Kelly Oubre for years. Last year, Oubre was an awesome pick in best ball. This year, I don't know that I'll have any. The Heat also like Pelle Larsson, and Pelle Larsson's fine. I think he's fine. I'm not drafting him in best ball, but agreed. I think he'll be in the rotation for the Miami Heat. Here's another one. Jarris Walker. I've been holding all my Jarris Walker stock, and I know it hasn't gone particularly well, but with all the kind of chaos with Indy, we'll bet on Jarris Walker. We'll bet on a little dabble of last round Jarris Walker. But again, lots of those, right? If you prefer some of these other guys, there's a ton of different options back there. Hopefully this shows, right? You don't have to draft it specifically this way. You certainly don't have to take these specific guys, but how powerful kind of an extreme build is if we can kind of make sure to dip in and out of center and get the playoff schedule aligned like we would really like it to be. There's a lot you can do with some of these extreme builds on DraftKings. No, we got 3 drafts in. I'm going to go watch Monday Night Football, and I'm going to go watch Game 7 of Mariners Blue Jays. I am going to come back tomorrow and draft. We're going to draft on Underdog. We're going to draft on DraftKings, and we're going to draft on Drafters tomorrow. A little draft-a-palooza leading up to opening night in the NBA tomorrow. So if you could hit the like button and subscribe and all that fun stuff on your way out, it would be much appreciated. And be on the lookout tomorrow. We're going to do some more drafting here on the channel. So if you need more of a fix of some NBA drafts, I got you covered tomorrow on opening day. It's opening day tomorrow. It's a great day. NBA season is upon us, and I'm very, very excited. And I have a million more drafts to do. So I'm going to go watch some Monday Night Football, and I'm going to go draft a bunch more NBA teams here on my phone, probably, and on my laptop to use the old Draft Hacker. But I'll see you guys tomorrow. Enjoy the games. Enjoy Game 7. Enjoy Monday Night Football. All that kind of stuff. And again, see you tomorrow. Cheers.
Woo! Those were some spicy takes. Want to stay up to date with all of the other spicy takes we're going to have over here at Spike Week? Why don't you press that subscribe button below? You turn notifications on, we draft a team, boom, you know about it. We have another spicy take,